What happened to 10cc? Three founding members of 10cc were childhood friends in the Manchester area. As boys, Godley and Cream knew each other, with Goldman and Godley attending the same secondary school, and their musical enthusiasm led to their playing at the local Jewish Lads Brigade. In June 1967, Godley and Cream recorded solitary single Seeing Things Green with Easy Life as the B-side, under the name The Yellow Bellow Room Boom. In 1969, Goldman took them to a Marmalade Records recording session. The boss, Giorgio Gamelski, was impressed with Godley's falsetto voice and offered them a recording contract. Gamelski was the ex-manager of the Yardbirds, and he planned to market Godley and Cream as a duo in the vein of Simon and Garfunkel. Goldman's track was The Late Mr. Late. A year later, Godley's song To Fly Away reappeared as Fly Away in the debut Hot Legs album, Thanks School Stinks. The core of 10cc lies in the partnership between Eric Stewart and Graham Goldman, two British invasion veterans who initially played together in the Mindbenders, which was a Manchester group who had a hit in 1965 with A Groovy Kind of Love. Goldman joined them in 1968 with several big hits under his belt, including the Hollies' Bus Stop, No Milk Today by Herman's Hermits, plus the Yardbirds' big pop moves, For Your Love and Heart Full of Soul. The Mindbenders split not long after he came aboard, with Stewart headed to Inner City Studios in Stockport with the idea of becoming a recording engineer. By the end of 1968, Inner City became Strawberry Studios. In 1969, Goldman began using Strawberry to record demos of songs he was writing for Marmalade. Strawberry Studios also became Goldman's headquarters in 1969, right around the time he signed a deal to write and record tunes for Jerry Casenetz and Jeffrey Katz of the bubblegum powerhouse Super K Productions. Goldman convinced the duo they'd save money if he recorded solely at Strawberry, supported by Stewart and Kevin Goldie and Cream, old friends from the Manchester music scene. Super K accepted the offer, and the quartet started cranking out fizzy pop tunes under a variety of names, including Ohio Express, Crazy Elephant, and Grumble. When the Super K production contract came to an end, Goldman left Strawberry to remain on Casenetz and Katz' songwriting staff, leaving the other members to record the lurching glam Neanderthal Man as Hot Legs for Fontana Records. And probably a smash hit in the UK, Neanderthal Man led to a full album as Hot Legs, which they took on the road as a support act for the Moody Blues. Goldman rejoined the group for the tour, and they'd all work in various permutations on a host of projects in the early 70s. Philips Records reworked their soul album, removing Neanderthal Man and adding Today, and issued it as Song. Stewart, Cream, and Godley received another single in February 1971 under yet another name, The New Wave Band, this time with former Herman's Hermits member Derek Leckenby on guitar. The band also continued outside production work at Strawberry, working with Dave Barry, Wayne Fontana, Peter Kowop, and Herman's Hermits, and doing original compositions for various UK soccer teams. The culmination of this period was Solitaire and the Tra-La Days Are Over, a pair of albums from Neil Sedaka that brought the Brill Building veteran into the smooth sound of the 70s. The Sedaka success prompted the quartet to set out on their own as 10cc. They took Donna, a sly satire of late 50s doo-wop, to Jonathan King, who signed them to his UK records label. Donna became a hit, climbing to the number 2 position on the British charts, establishing not only a long-running string of major hits, but also the quartet's fondness for ironic and affectionate reclamations of musty pop styles. It was chosen by BBC Radio 1 disc jockey Tony Blackburn as his record of the week, helping to launch it into the top 30, and like I said before, eventually peaking at number 2. The follow-up Rubber Bullets topped the charts in 1973, and both the subsequent single The Dean and I, a nostalgic look at academia recalling Jerry Lee Lewis's High School Confidential, and a self-titled debut LP further solidified 10cc as a major force in British pop. They were joined by second drummer Paul Burgess on tour. While 1974's sheet music and singles, including the Brian Wilson-esque Wall Street Shuffle, Silly Love, and Life is a Minestrone, continued 10cc's dominance of the UK charts, and they found the American market virtually impenetrable before the release of 1975's I'm Not in Love, which topped the charts at the UK and climbed as high as number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. In February 1975, the band announced their split from Jonathan King and a $1 million deal with Mercury Records, prompted by the song I'm Not in Love. Their previous contract with King provided only a 4% royalty rate. Although the band intended to sign with Richard Branson's Virgin label, their manager Harvey Lisberg, who had been given power of attorney while the band was on vacation, instead accepted a revised offer by Phonogram. After 1975's original soundtrack and the next year's How Dare You, Godley and Creme left the band to focus on video production as well as developing the Gizmo, which became a guitar modification device the duo invented. They worked on a project that eventually evolved into the triple LP set Consequences in 1977, which was a sprawling concept album that featured contributions from satirist Peter Cook and jazz vocalist Sarah Vaughan. 10cc's success prompted the 1976 re-release of the Hot Legs album under the new title You Didn't Like It Because You Didn't Think of It, with 2 additional tracks. In the wake of their departure, Goldman and Stewart continued as a duo, enlisting the aid of session men to record 1977's Deceptive Bends, highlighted by the perennial The Things We Do for Love. They also had hits with Good Morning Judge, which went to number 5 in the UK and number 69 on the Billboard Hot 100, and People in Love, which went to number 40 on the Billboard Hot 100. After recruiting guitarist Rick Finn, keyboardist Tony O'Malley, and drummer Stuart Tosh as full-time members, they recorded a live album called Live and Let Live. Keyboardist Duncan Mackey replaced Tony O'Malley after the tour. 10cc returned in 1978 with Bloody Tourist, which yielded the number 1 reggae nod Dreadlock Holiday. Stewart's involvement in a serious car wreck in 1979 proved to be a major setback for the band. While Stewart recovered, Goldman recorded the title track to the film Sunburn with the help of some of the 10cc band members, which became a minor UK hit in 1979. Goldman also recorded the soundtrack to the animated film Animalympics, which was originally intended as a 10cc project. Rick Finn had great success touring with Mike Oldfield and recording with Nick Mason after being introduced to them by Eric Stewart, while Duncan McKay took part in recording of the Kate Bush album Never Forever. To fill the gap between 10cc releases, a Greatest Hits compilation, Greatest Hits 1972 to 1978, was issued in late 1979. As Stewart began his recovery, he recorded the soundtrack to the film Girls, mainly working with Duncan McKay, with other 10cc band members making guest appearances. By the time they released 1980's Look Here, critical reception was lukewarm at best. After dismissing the rest of the group, Goldman and Stewart recorded 1981's 10 out of 10 using mostly session musicians, and the album failed to chart. Warner Brothers invited Andrew Gold to contribute to the North American version of 10 out of 10 to enhance its appeal. Gold co-wrote and played on 3 new tracks, leading to an offer from 10cc's Goldman and Stewart for him to join the band. However, Gold declined due to other commitments. Goldman later acknowledged that Gould's greater involvement might have improved the band's early 1980s work. Stewart also released a 1982 solo album, Fruity Rudies, with Burgess as a drummer and participation from Goldman and Finn on one track. 10cc would release one more album, 1983's Windows in the Jungle, before disbanding that same year. After 1983, the band went on a hiatus as Stewart produced recordings for Sad Cafe and Goldman produced tracks for the Ramones. Stewart continued his association with Paul McCartney, with him already appearing on Tug of War in 1982 and Pipes of Peace in 1983. During 1984, he appeared in the video for the US single So Bad, which also featured Ringo Starr and the feature film soundtrack for Give My Regards to Broad Street. He then co-wrote much of the Press to Play album from 1986, though he was critical of the album's production. He also produced the album Eyes of a Woman from 1985 by Agnetha Faltskog of ABBA. Goldman, meanwhile, teamed with Andrew Gold to form the duo Common Knowledge, which after 2 unsuccessful singles, changed their name to Wax. The duo's albums included Magnetic Heaven in 1986, American English in 1987, and 100,000 and Fresh Notes in 1989. The duo scored some success, including a Spanish #1 single and their only British hit, Bridge to Your Heart, in 1987, which reached number 12. A compilation album, Changing Faces, The Very Best of 10cc and Godley and Cream, was released in 1987 and gave the band their biggest hit album since 1978. A 4-CD box set, Greatest Songs and More, was issued in Japan in 1991, which included many B-sides available on CD for the first time. In 1991, the original lineup of Stewart, Goldman, Godley, and Cream reunited to record Meanwhile. The album fared well in Europe and Japan, but Godley and Cream's involvement was minimal, and they both bowed out shortly after its release. Shortly after 1995's Mirror Mirror and its subsequent tour, Stewart also called it quits. In 1999, Goldman put together a new 10cc lineup which included himself, Rick Finn, and Paul Burgess, along with newcomers Mick Wilson and Mike Stevens. Although no new music was released, the lineup continued to tour consistently throughout the 2000s, playing various 10cc hits along with some of Goldman's solo highlights. Various 10cc reissues and anthologies have been released, including a 30th anniversary box set in 2002 and a limited edition 40th anniversary set in 2012 called Tenology. After another box set before, during, and after the story of 10cc arrived in 2017 with the comprehensive 14-CD box 20 years seeing release at the beginning of 2024. On March 11, 2024, the band announced their first North American tour in 46 years. The Ultimate Greatest Hits Tour, started in July 2024, is set to end in August 2025 in Australia. And that's what happened to 10cc. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Give me some facts about the band that I might have failed to mention, and let me know who I should do next on the channel. So, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.